Good afternoon, guys. All right, we are continuing with our trade reviews. It's going to be a pretty quick trade review. I didn't really do much today. It was a bright green day on options and decent green on futures. And yeah, not too much going on. As far as pre-market analysis goes, if we mark out all of our relevant pivots, we swept this one, which was a bullish liquidity sweep. You just try to mark all these out real quick. Kind of difficult to do on the 1 minute for some of these. Go. We got this one here. We got this one here. All right. As far as pre-market analysis goes, we are kind of in a downtrend. However, we have a bullish liquidity sweep on ES. And a majority of this recent drop has been invalidated on NQ. More than that, though, we actually have a descending broadening wedge, which is a bullish pattern. Now, there's a couple ways you can draw this, but that is, in fact, a descending broadening wedge, which is indeed a bullish pattern. And I have a couple of nearby pivots on NQ, starting with this high, which happens to be a perfect double top. You guys know how I feel about that. And this pivot as well. So going into market open, my only bias is bullish for this pattern to play out, which means I'm bearish for this supply cluster to break, or sorry, bullish for this supply cluster to break, and for us to clear 29,255-ish. Now the plan is, hopefully, if we dip at market open, then come back up, that'd be a pretty good entry. Otherwise, my biggest concern was the market would open too bullish and just shoot right through the supply. But otherwise, you can also see kind of an inverse head and shoulders here within this descending broadening wedge. I plan on entering calls to this pivot and maybe even holding some to the next supply. And we'll see which one's stronger. Yes, it was a bit stronger overnight. But here's the market open candle. It was beautiful. Nice red candle, which is good. That means our trade isn't off the table. So this is kind of where I'd like to enter. And now it's just kind of a waiting game. ES flipped a lot weaker than NQ. Actually looked like it had a decent chance to get to demand after rejecting supply. But I don't have any put trades I'm willing to get into. I'm not really willing to bet against demand today. We already had a liquidity sweep here, which is another reason why puts wouldn't work out. Of course, they could play out, but not confident. Didn't think it was high probability. But here you can see NQ is way stronger than ES. And I almost entered on this candle. In fact, if the next candle even opens green and it gets above this, pretty much this area right here, that's where I like to enter. And it did not. So I got really close to entering there. So continue waiting. NQ just made a lower low. ES is in demand. Maybe it wants to bounce out of demand. NQ seems to be holding that lower low, and we got this candle here. That is pretty bullish. I believe I entered right at the start of the next candle when the selling wick invalidated. Let me check the exact timing of that. Yep, right at the start of the next candle. Pretty much this was the big market open candle. I just wanted to see this body invalidate. So right when we invalidate this little selling wick here, I will take entry on my QQQ calls. It's a thing I've been waiting for the whole morning. I gave you guys the pre-market analysis before the market opened, and I entered. I actually got a pretty good fill initially. I did end up averaging up, though, towards the close of this candle, so that moved my dollar cost average up a bit. But yeah, this was my trade. NQ was beautifully strong, very nice. Got right through PT, and sold the last once we pulled back to supply. It was literally only a single contract. Calls got 70% gains when they got to the next supply, which is beautiful. Now, I didn't really alert another trade. It ended up being a gorgeous exit, by the way. Was leaning kind of bearish for ES to get this next pivot, but still not really willing to take puts. Didn't really have any super high probability setups left. So that is pretty much, as far as alerts went, one and done today. Very big trade. And yeah, no, it was beautiful. Now I was leaning bearish for ES to also break demand. It ended up putting in a perfect double bottom at this demand, though, and I did end up scalping it. Here. Perfect double bottom. I entered puts on this green candle and sold right when it broke. Sold a bit early though, left money on the table, but I personally made about 25% gains on it. Could have made 70% because it dumped. But whatever. I didn't alert that trade. I just alerted it in our free live stream we were doing on YouTube and in Discord as always, of course. And now moves on to futures trading. Now, today's futures trade, as you guys know, probability analysis, I need 2 more good keywords and bad keywords to enter. I thought I was going to enter longs because we swept this liquidity and we were coming up, but now we're just dumping. And I don't really have any more meaningful pivots on ES anywhere near. I just have demand. Now, as far as the trend goes, and keywords go, right now I have demand as a bad keyword for shorts and trend as a good keyword. If we were to bearishly consolidate, put in some kind of bear pennant or bear flag, that would be additional reason, which would give me 2, which means I need 1 more for it to have 2 more good keywords and bad keywords. I need just 1 more. So if 1 is weak, which is because I don't have a liquidity sweep up here, if 1 is weak, then I'll be able to enter. Today's trade was pretty gray area. Well, we ended up bouncing pretty hard. We ended up coming back down, and NQ ended up bouncing again here. This is looking like a bear pennant, even though we're kind of chopping down, still a bear pennant. Now, to me, ES was a bit weaker here. It made lower lows. They're about even in strength, heading back up. Maybe ES was slightly stronger, not much though. And then on the drop, they were pretty close to even. NQ was a little bit weaker. Got a little bit closer to low of day than ES did. But on the bounce, NQ bounced way harder than ES did. Much harder than ES did. And ES on this red candle dropped more than NQ did, invalidating the green one. Now this is where things kind of changed. Now the strength started getting pretty close to even. You can still see, though, that ES invalidated way more this bounce than NQ did. Well, I ended up entering ES shorts on this candle. To me, it just looked like ES bounced a lot less. Bounced way less than NQ. And invalidated more of the bounce than NQ. This was a really tough decision for me, though. And it's still tough, honestly. I don't know. Is it weak enough to give it the weak keyword? Well, I ended up pulling the trigger personally. And I just went to this next demand. No. It's plus 35 for me. Something like this. I went to the next demand. I don't remember exactly. It was something like that, I believe. Plus 35, then minus 31. I think the risk reward was, yep, there you go. That's trade I placed. Yeah, it's tough. Is it? It's definitely a little weaker than NQ. Is it weak enough to give it the keyword? Let me look at my journal real quick. I don't think so. It was a little bit weaker right here. I don't know, man. I think this trade had a less than 50% chance. Actually, I don't know. It's the gray area trades, man. Is that weak enough? I'm going to say no. It's a little bit weaker. Weak enough for a full keyword? I don't think so. So I technically speaking, I don't believe I was allowed to enter this trade, which means I got lucky. Super gray area. Even now looking at it, there's an okay argument, but you know, it's been my goal to take more clearly triggered trades, less gray area trades, because if I lose money, for example, if I enter this trade, it's super gray area and super debatable and I end up losing on it, that's going to be a hard loss to accept because it was a gray area trade. I want to lose on trades where it's clear that I'm supposed to get in, not unclear, right? So I think I got lucky here. I don't think this should count towards my strategy. It's close, but it's too indecisive, a little too gray area. But I pulled the trigger anyways. It did end up working out. Fortunately, of course, ES flipped strong right after. And NQ ended up making way more money than ES did. But it did end up getting there. And, so I took one trade today plus this. One big trade on options, one decent trade on futures, and that's it. Two trades, green and green. Just like yesterday, I haven't lost a trade yet. But let's keep going and see if what would have happened if I continue trading. This is potentially bearish consolidation here. It is really small, though. It is really, really small. I don't think I'd count this. I think this is a bit too small. I think this is more of one oscillation. It is a baby bearish consolidation, though. It did break to the downside. We have any pivots here? Not really. We have a tiny one here. I don't think it counts. And Q does. Q does. Interesting. All right. Q does have a pivot. Okay. So we swept the pivot. ES is in demand. Do I have strength? Because we're going against trend. So as far as this trade goes, I have a liquidity sweep. Do I have a volume spike? No. So I have liquidity sweep. ES is in demand going against trend. Is one stronger than the other? I don't think so. I think they're pretty close to even. ES might be a little bit stronger. Yeah, a little bit stronger. Let me see. What about the next one? Yeah, ES is stronger. Yeah, so technically I have an argument to take this trade. If I were to take this trade, I think there's definitely an argument here. Again, a kind of gray area. I'm just not very fond of reversal trades personally. But if I were to take this trade, here's what it would look like. I'd probably go to the 38.2%. Stop loss here. Yeah, I'd technically be allowed to be triggered into that trade. It is technically stronger. We got a liquidity sweep when we're still in demand. Is it much stronger though? Not really. But this is a debatable trade that I have an argument to enter. Let's see what would have happened. Oh, did it end up working? Oh, it swept the stop loss. Brutal. Okay, I would have lost. Now, I don't really have a better PT than the 38.2% fib. What? It didn't. It was indeed strong. Okay. So, yeah, I really lucked out today. And my future session would have ended at 9:30 my time. So, yeah, I know it did end up going up later in the day. This pivot barely missed, so that should break, even though I wouldn't be trading. Missed by one tick, so I'm pretty bearish for that low of day to break on ES. I don't think it actually did break, though. It just went up for the rest of the day. So moving forward, guys, mark this pivot on ES. That's a really solid pivot going into tomorrow. Very, very, very solid pivot going into tomorrow. But as far as trades I missed out on, I mean, that reversal trade, I had good excuse to enter, and it was a decent entry. It did go up a decent bit, but would have certainly missed my PT. So it would have been a red trade. And as far as bearish consolidation, even if I didn't enter that trade, could I have been triggered into bearish consolidation here? Well, that looks like a bear pennant to me on ES. And NQ's weaker. Only problem is it's kind of on some pivots here. No, I don't think it would have been triggered in. These pivots aren't huge, but they're not small. I don't know if I want to count this a bit. If I don't count it as a pivot, this definitely was, but it's below it now. If I didn't count that as a pivot, then it would be bearish consolidation on ES, trend and weak going against demand. 3-1, I would be able to enter NQ shorts here. PT would probably be ES low of day, but I could go a little bit lower. I could just go to the demand break, except that would have a really bad, way too tight of a stop loss. Maybe it's just the next demand. Really depends. I didn't enter that reversal trade for whatever reason, this could have been a trade I could have been triggered into. It's a bit debatable. And that would have won. That would have, in fact, won for sure. But that one's debatable because is this a big enough pivot to be considered pivot? I vote no. I don't think so. So it's a toss up of how today would have went if I didn't take that trade. I was technically triggered into this reversal trade. It didn't work out, and that would have caused me to lose. But if I didn't enter that, I could have won on this trade, and that would have been a pretty big win. A bigger win than I had today, definitely by an extra $100 or something per trade, per account. But as far as the strategy goes, technically that reversal trade, yeah, technically that reversal trade was triggered. But that one's still gray area. So yeah, it's a toss up. I don't know. I'm going to have to do much heavier analysis on my own. But as far as the two trades I entered, those were the two trades I entered. And that futures trade, yeah, I don't think I perfectly follow my strategy. A little bit too gray area. So hopefully tomorrow I don't have to debate that hard. And if I am debating that hard, I probably just won't pull the trigger. But I mean, that's my review for today. Does anyone have any questions regarding any of the trades I took? Let me check chat. Could you check DMs after this review? Yeah, I'll check DMs. Managed to turn a Green Day red. That is unfortunate. John said he got long on that pivot. Nice. All right, sweet. Well, that's pretty much wraps up this review. Super easy. The only difficult thing is that futures trade and what would have happened. What would have happened if I didn't take it? I don't know. I think there's a 50% chance I would have entered that reversal trade and a 50% chance I would have entered that short trade. 50-50. That one's a coin flip. I really don't know. But that's how it went today. Still blessed regardless. And if we can keep this win rate going through the rest of the week, I'd be one very happy man. But all right. Well, that's it. So let you guys know when this recording is posted to YouTube. And I will see you guys later. Let me know if you guys need anything.